for folks, especially my readers who are not familiar with this comedy show, tell us a little bit about what they can expect this go around, and how did you curate your lineup?
Keep Your Distance Comedy was born out of the pandemic at the time where in LA, you could gather outside up to 50 people as long as you were 6 feet apart if you were in the same household. So we took that and we didn't even have 50 people. We had about 25, 30 people because we were paying for every COVID test. And it was an opportunity to have new comedians perform to new audiences, and we live streamed it. And to be honest, I didn't think it was going to last this long. I figured when the world opened back up, so to speak, that people would be like, well, I'm going to, back to my regular life. But we found that a lot of people really enjoy watching the live stream shows, even though they can go out. Sometimes they just want to watch stuff from home. They want to watch comedy shows from the comfort of their own room. They don't want to have to pay for parking or 2-drink minimums or get dressed. They just want to be in their drawers, a little bit musty. Maybe they didn't feel like taking a shower and be entertained. So that's what we've been doing. We're so happy to partner with Caffeine, who's been hosting the last couple Keep Your Distances, and the ones that you can see now will be on Caffeine. They're being a great partner. It's a free app, so you can download it for free and watch for free. It used to be ticketed, but now you can just sign up and watch for free. It's super dope.
What up, what up, what up? Clap it up. Keep clapping, don't slow down. This is my whole set. Clap it up.
You ever watch your man? He on the edge of the bed. He ain't got no shirt on. He built up like the Mucinex germ. He look like a big booger. Listen, it's always a man built up like a wisdom tooth trying to tell you about your body.
I like getting my boobs sucked.
Are these some of your friends? Are these folks that you've met on the comedy circuit? Folks that you've met online?
It started initially with my friends that were comedians, then my circle, then recommendations from my friends and circle, and now we're recommendations from recommendations. If you were funny on Keep Your Distance, then your word goes a long way. I found that most comics won't recommend somebody they don't think is funny because it reflects on their ability as a comedian. That's part of the fraternity of comedy, is like who you think is funny represents who you are as a comedian. So that's really what we do. It's people that I find, people that the audience suggests, and comedians and friends of comedians who performed before.
So, for my readers who may not be familiar with KevOnStage and your social media presence, right, and your comedy work, tell us briefly, how would you describe your style of comedy, and who are some of your influences?
Yeah, my style of comedy is, I'd say edgy clean. I talk about everything that happens in my life. Some of that is parenthood, some of that is marriage and therefore sex. Some of that is the way I see the world. Sometimes I can be a little harsher than people would like to believe. I don't use cuss words in my comedy at this point in my career. I don't know where the Lord will lead me. I think kind of like Arnez J was one of my favorite comedians coming up and still is. He's a little bit more physical and in your face than I am, but that's who I was probably the most inspired by. Sinbad, people like that. Bruce, Lavelle Crawford. Those are some of my personal favorites. And obviously Jamie Foxx, Cat Williams, Kevin Hart, people like that as well.
So, are there particular social or political topics that you're passionate about that you try to incorporate into your routines, but keeping it lighthearted and not too heavy for the audience?
Not really. I think that to make political things funny is a different skill set than I have. I've dabbled in it, but it was much harder to make funny. I think you've got to walk a tighter line. Sometimes you alienate pieces of your audience. They take offense before they even heard the joke. And it's not that I'll stray away from that. It's just that it's something that I would need to work on more. I think people like Trevor Noah and Hassan Minhaj do that very well. But I'm more like, everyday observational humor, quips about my life and things like that.
Right on. So, Kev, let me ask you, when did you realize you had, you have this gift for comedy and you wanted to make this a professional career?
Well, those are two different times. I think at the time I realized I had the gift was when my grandma would let me stay around the grown folks a little longer because I would make people laugh. And that was about 6 or 7. I think professional career was much later. I think the first time I even thought it was a possibility is when I saw Kings of Comedy right in high school, right after high school. I believe it came out in 2001. I'm not exactly sure. But I remember just thinking, man, this is amazing. Like, this is so funny. And I wonder if I could do this. And then when I got fired from my job some years later, I was like, let me just take a shot at really seeing if this is possible. I eventually got a job again, and I just did stand up after work. And I think once I started to get paid, a couple $1,000s for performing, I realized, hey, if I can string some of these together, I don't have to go to work no more. So that's when I realized I could be a professional. I think for a long time, I was just doing it as a side hustle and kind of saving that money. And I think the more I did it and the more gigs I strung together, I realized I could really do this for a living.
So, so you were working and you decided to do stand-up while you were working, like after work. When did you have the aha moment? Okay, let's tie social media into this. How can I build my brand and my presence and audience on social media? Talk a little bit about your journey to building your audience.
Sure. I started doing stand-up when I lived in Washington State in Tacoma. And we were also doing plays at the time. And we realized pretty quickly that we were not going to become Tyler Perry in Tacoma, Washington. There just wasn't enough Black people or people who enjoyed our plays to make a living out of it. So we were getting ready to quit and just like coach our sons' basketball teams. And I remember watching at that time, Stuff Girls Do was going viral on YouTube. And I remember I was with my brother and my friend. I said, why don't we just give YouTube a try? Because if we can get big on YouTube, then we could take our plays all over the place because we'd have fans everywhere. And our first 2 videos, Stuff Black Church Girls Say and Stuff Black Parents Say, both went viral in the same week. And people started, booking us to come perform at their churches, and we started getting paid and things like that. And from that moment on, I always was like, keep growing. So I have more people who can come see me. And then eventually I realized, being big on the internet was lucrative enough on its own, that it was paying a lot of the bills, and then stand-up was just supplementary to what we were doing online. So I think stand-up came first, and the need to expand is where social media came in, because prior to that, the only way you could get big is you would have to book like either the Tonight Show or HBO special or Comic View or, Bad Boys of Comedy, all these different type of things. And almost all of those things, all those opportunities were in LA. And we had small children. All 3 of us had small children. So moving to LA or even going to, audition in LA wasn't really a possibility. So the internet was the great equalizer for me, and it has been ever since.
Mm-hmm. So when you think about your first stand-up performance, right? And the evolution to where you are now, I mean, the rewards that you are kind of enjoying at this point in your career, right? Do you see your evolution properly reflected in the response that you're getting from your audience? In the showcase especially, do you think this new showcase reflects your growth as a comedian from where you started to where you are now?
I'm going to get a vasectomy. And I was like, thank you so much for believing in my career.
I got a lot of energy cause I've been doing these new drugs called vegetables. And it's been a real trippy experience, dog.
Anybody else married at all? Yeah. See, you don't sound happy at all, Kev.
We got a great show for you guys.
With Keep Your Distance Comedy, I've went from the comedian performing to the person offering the platform to showcase others' talents. And I think that's a great, reflection of growth, is that comedians want to get on Keep Your Distance so that they can have their special tape, so that they can send it to bookers people call, you know, a lot of comedians consider it a credit, especially if they haven't been on TV before. They're like, man, I did Keep Your Distance though. You know, for a lot of comedians, their Keep Your Distance set is their highest viewed YouTube video by far. And many of them have reached out to me after their set and thanked me for the opportunity and said it's led to bookings and things like that. So I think for me, sharing my platform is the reason God has given it to me. And I will continue to do so. I don't think there'll be anything I do that I'm the sole beneficiary of. I mean, I always want to benefit, amen. But I want to share that platform with others as well. And I think that's why God has given me these opportunities.
Well, speaking of opportunity, I mean, you were nominated for NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Social Media Personality. I mean, talk about milestone moment, right? Did you ever expect that you would get here, sir? How does it feel to be nominated for NAACP?
I mean, this is my third time being nominated, and the first time that category was created to celebrate people like me and Tabitha Brown and Desi Banks and, Carlton Banks, or not Carlton Banks. I think, and honestly, it meant a little more because it was a publication. I mean, it was a part of our culture, right? The NAACP is a part of Black culture. It's a very prominent award. So for them to think of me was really great. And to answer your question, no, I didn't think that was possible, plausible, on the horizon. I was just watching the Image Awards like everybody else. I didn't ever think I'd be included in it. And I think one scripture comes to mind. Now unto him who is able to do exceeding abundant, above all you could ever ask or think. And I think so many times in my life, I've been like, these are things I didn't even dream of. Like, things I've dreamt of have happened, but things I never even thought were a possibility have happened as well. So sometimes I just feel like I'm along for the ride, and I'm enjoying that as well.
Okay, well, on that note, do you feel like you've had, I mean, I know you're still on your career path, your journey, your star is still rising, right? But do you feel like you've had your mama, I've made it moment? Has there been that moment where you feel like, oh my God, this is it. I've reached my definition of success. Have you had that moment?
I haven't had that moment yet. I do try and appreciate every moment as they come. I think for me, one will be like seeing my name in Times Square that's probably the thing that I most look forward to, or my name in a Deadline article or Variety article, or a movie releasing in theaters, widely distributed. Some of those things are kind of like old Hollywood things that every performer who wants to move to LA dreams of. Seeing a billboard of you on Sunset Boulevard. I think a lot of those things are the things that I feel like my mind made it. But, meeting Will Smith was super dope. Rihanna commented on my Instagram one time. Those are definitely my mind made it moments. So I think I've had a few, but I'm looking for a few more.
So I was going through your bio and such, and it says, okay, so you're a social media star, you're a comedian who tours, you're a working comedian who's getting paid. A lot of comedians can't say that, right? You're a best-selling author. Okay, so what's on your bucket list, Mr. Kev? What's next? What's your top 3 things you'd like to accomplish in the next, 5 years or so?
I would love to get into TV and movies. I think to appear in a mainstream movie or television show as a serious character would be one. Not serious in the sense of not dramatic, but like a prominent character, or to have one of my own TV shows and movies be picked up, made, or widely distributed, or distributed independently, and a lot of people see it. I think that's the main focus I have for the next 5 years. Also, to play Madison Square Garden. I don't know if that'll happen in 5 years, but that's definitely on my bucket list of things that I'm working towards.
Okay, so if you could open up for any one comedian, who would it be?
Right now, probably Kevin Hart. I mean, Kevin Hart's the biggest comedian of my generation. And he's the one I've watched. Hush now. He's not gonna do nothing. And I watched him I watched his career happen in real time. So I think to be on the same stage with him would probably be like amazing, because he has meant so much to comedians like me. We have the same name, so he's really broken the doors open for people named Kevin. And he's set out to be a comedic rock star, and I think he's achieved it. I think he's the biggest comedian in the last 20 years to me, you know, probably since Eddie Murphy, at least in, you know, Black culture, as far as how huge he was, how many tickets he sold in movies and all that type of stuff. So yeah, Kevin Hart would be dope.